name appears to be Mary from North Carolina. And the text says, working through deconstruction makes me feel guilty. I get that. Mary, can you hear us?
I can. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure thing.
Yeah, I've been deconstructing since 2008, and I was raised in a fundamentalist Christian home, but it was more like a commune. We lived with everybody. And scripture is still so ingrained in my heart. When I'm asking or answering these questions, I still feel this guilt, like I'm betraying God.
Sure. So, I mean, you spent multiple decades in a legalistic religious framework, and you've been deconstructing for how many years? Did I hear 8?
Since 2008. And
2008. Okay.
And then went back twice.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, that happens too, actually. Twice. Yeah. So, well, let me ask you a question. It took me a long time to deconstruct as well. Mine wasn't entirely linear, and I don't know if everybody's is. What were the factors that first made you question? And then the follow-up is, what made you go back?
Well, when I went to college, I went to community college, and my pastor was actually concerned. He told me that he's seen a lot of good women lose their faith and leave their marriage when they go to higher education, right? Mm-hmm. And I was guarded against that, but I saw a different worldview and started questioning things. I had some really good teachers, especially in religious studies, and started to learn about other religions and mythologies around them, and started questioning my own. And then my brother introduced me to Sam Harris and Christopher Hitchens, and I finally let go of the idea of hell. And that really made me feel free to explore what I believed and ask questions. And the second one was I was going to a Baptist church, and we did this Bishop Spong study asking the questions. It was a very liberal Baptist church that I was going to. And that started another phase for me. But I went back because of the community. I had lost all my friends and some family. And I kept going back, and it was a very emotional service, a lot of praise and worship, and I missed that really kind of feeling of the Spirit and the connection. But I just couldn't sit through the sermons. I just had a dichotomy in my head for a little while.
I get that. Yeah. The community is one of the things I hear the most when people are deconstructing. I miss the community, and some of them lost their families too. They're like, I miss the community and I miss my family, right? And I think that that's a pretty normal thing to do. And it's hard to find new community. You spent your whole life building this community, and you don't want to spend the rest of your life building another community, right? So I really understand where you're coming from there. It sounds to me like you want to be part of it for the community, even though you don't necessarily believe it anymore. Is that an accurate description?
That is, yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe something to think about.
The one thing that's helped me is I discovered your show last week, and and just hearing you talk about the Bible. And so I ordered the Skeptic's Annotated Bible because I wanted to study the Bible a different way. And I think that will help me a lot.
For sure.
Yeah, there's a number of really good resources. Richard Carrier's got some really good resources. I'm forgetting a name. The other one that Christians, who's an atheist now, Bible scholar. Bart Ehrman has some really good stuff. And these are just courses you can take. They do charge a little bit, but it's well worth it because these are actual scholars that you're learning from, and you're learning it from a scholarly point of view. If you really kind of want to study it from that, and then find other Bible scholars, not just preachers or apologists, because they have a different viewpoint. They're trying to make sense of the Bible, whereas the scholars are actually trying to put it in its historical context and figure out where it comes from. Elaine Pagels is another one. who's really, really good on that. And then once you start there with those folks, you'll branch out into more scholarly work where they're actually looking at the history. And not all these scholars are atheists, by the way. I think Lynn Pagels is still a Christian. She may be the only one we've mentioned that is, but the vast majority of biblical scholars are theists. So, and they have to juxtapose their belief with what they know, which is why Kip Davis.
Kip Davis. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is another one. If you want to know anything about the Dead Sea Scrolls, he's kind of the guy for the Dead Sea Scrolls, because he's done the most work on them, starting with his pre-doctorate, if I remember correctly, and his doctoral and postdoc work is all on Dead Sea Scrolls. So, but you're talking about the community, and yeah, that's the hardest thing. Just find a secular community, Meetup, Facebook. List out, come up with 3 or 4 or 5 things that you really like to do. Go find groups that are doing that on Facebook or Meetup and go do it with them. And you can build up a really nice community, a really tight community of friends. It's hard, but you can definitely do it.
Yeah, I joined one of those in Greensboro years ago, but when COVID came, they stopped. So I might find one again. Those are good suggestions.
I think sometimes it's hard, but you kind of have to, as they used to say in dating, you have to put yourself out there. One of my best friends I actually met one night when I was just out grabbing a beer. We just happened to find each other at a bar. I sat next to him. It turned out that we were interested in the same stuff. I found out that he grew up not far from where I grew up. And we've been friends now for 20 years, and his friends became my friends. I had like a whole new community that I adopted. So like sometimes just like getting yourself to leave the house and go do something social and getting to push yourself to interact with people that you haven't met yet can really open up a lot of doors. Now, listen, I've gone out before and met some horrific people that I never want to see again. But I've also met some very delightful people just by getting out and forcing myself to be social.
Well, thank you. I'll do that.
Yeah. And maybe I'll just add one more thing. Sorry to pile on. Like, it's okay if you're still like friends and socialize with the people in your church. Like, I understand that there's a little bit that you feel that division in you because like, well, I don't believe this stuff anymore. Right. But like, most of my friends and family still believe as well. And if I get to go to church and see them, I'm perfectly happy to do so. In fact, I'll be going to a service not too long from now. Right. So I understand that, that aspect of it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know if you need to feel weird or guilty about that, as long as you're not like leading them on, making them think that you're back in the faith again.
Right. Yeah.
I have quite a few friends that are Christians because I'm in a 12-step program as well. And we just don't talk about that. Because they know that my higher power is different than theirs. And so the reason we're together is to stay sober. And so we talk about different things. So I have a lot of people in my circle that are believers, and we're still very good friends. They don't try to change my mind. I don't try to change theirs,
That's good. Well, congrats on being sober. That's a huge achievement.
Yes.
3 years. Thank you.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
W.
Thank you.
Well, Mary, thanks so much for calling. It was delightful to hear from you.
Well, thanks for taking my call. You have a good day.
Absolutely. Have a good one. That is tough, Jim.
Yeah, finding community again and rebuilding it, especially if it's, like she said, she's coming from a commune type situation where they're all living on the same compound, it sounds like. So you have that tight knit community built in. Right. But it's amazing. You can go find, there's, I do scuba diving and I drive my Jeep off road as much as I can. Those are 2 very different communities, but they're still very secular communities. And guess what? God doesn't come up hardly at all. And I'm in South Alabama. I can drive 2 hours to the east and be in Georgia, and an hour, maybe less to the south, I'm in Florida. So I'm right in that corner. I've got probably 4 churches within walking distance of me. So, if we're not talking about it, you can definitely find it, but you do have to go out and you do have to, find it. And that's why I says, come up with like 4 or 5 things you like to do or might like to do, and then go find those places. Keep yourself kind of busy while you figure out what's going to work and what isn't. Do you really like it enough to do with other people? And if it's something where everyone's doing kind of the same thing or working towards the same goal, it gives you that same type of community feeling, because that's exactly what you're doing, in a church, et cetera, is working towards a goal, working towards a thing. And so even if it's just something like, we go out and drive along the coast, that's all doing the same kind of thing. We all have the same kinds of experiences. So, yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Find people that you enjoy doing things with. Join a club. I've met great friends by joining adult clubs. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of adult clubs out there.